the reporting needs. So they do all sort of financial reporting. Apart from financial reporting, nowadays a CFO is required to do all sort of operational reporting and other reporting as well. Because in the position where CFO sits, he actually have a 360-degree view of the business. Data come from different systems, different sources, your operational data, your HR data, your financial data. And as a CFO, you are owner of those data, and you need to know that how to make good use of data. And in today's world, the data is coming left, right, center. You got different applications, you got IoTs, and you got everything which capture the data of your business. Now, having so much of data and having a responsibility as a CFO to use those data in much more meaningful manner to give a business the right kind of insight, which is going to help them in right decision making, or rather having an informed decision making as the stakeholder wants. Now, we all use Excel as a tool, despite of having different tools in our ERP system for reporting, and maybe other tools which organization might have invested at different point of times. These tools may be the BI tools, these tools may be your ERP system itself, but still somehow finance community still uses Excel heavily for their reporting needs. Now, nothing wrong with using Excel for their reporting requirement. You just simply bring in the data which you require for your reportings, and you put it on Excel, and you start creating your pivot tables and the charts and different kind of reports. And at the end of it, while you need to do a presentation, you do the screenshot of those and you put it on PowerPoint, and then you do presentation for your reports. Now, all this is good, but in today's world, we are so dynamic that what has happened 10 days before, if you are presenting it today, sometimes so many things have taken place in those 10 days that you might miss giving the right picture. So we need to be very agile, we need to be very dynamic in terms of our reporting. And most of the time it happens while you are presenting in a meeting and a question being asked from the stakeholder, and your simple answer would be, let me get back to you, because you don't have that information readily available. Now, this all, apart from this, there are many other pain area in Excel. I'm not going to describe, because all of us experience it at certain point of time, or if you are still using Excel, you might be experiencing those kind of difficulties day in, day out in Excel. So my background is same as most.
We can't hear you, Naveen.
Sorry, is it
Yeah,
okay now?
yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, so in 2010, Microsoft introduced a tool called Power Pivot in Excel, and in 2013, another tool called Power Query in Excel. And in 2015, these two tools got integrated into Power BI. So what today's session is all about Power BI. I'm going to give a few reasons why you need to shift from Excel to Power BI, and then simultaneously I'll be doing some demo, creating some dashboard to make you comfortable that this is not a IT driven tool. This is more of a self BI tool, which we all can learn and we can make good use of it. And as in this slide, I'm saying that I faithfully and honestly believe every bit of my story is true. And at the end of the session, I want you to think that this is too good to be true. So let me jump to the next slide, which is export to Excel. So as I was describing that we all use Excel heavily, when a ERP vendor or when an application vendor come to our organization to sell something, we always ask the first question whether you have an export to Excel button in it, right? Now he might be selling you hundreds of thousands of dollars of application or ERP, but still you are asking him a silly question that whether we have an export to Excel button in that particular application. Now, simple reason being Microsoft Excel is traditionally been go-to reporting tool for businesses. And I've described you in the beginning that despite of all the shortcomings, we still use Excel. So now it is Microsoft. The tool Power BI is owned by Microsoft, developed by Microsoft. And the Microsoft is, when I say Microsoft, the new Microsoft, what has changed in last several years, especially in last 3-4 years, the things that changed dramatically in Microsoft. First thing is they start hearing customer heavily. Whatever they do today, it is all feedback given by users like us. So in Excel, if you see any changes, lot many times they get to know from the users that these are the pain area while using Excel, or for that matter, any other tool. So that way, every product has evolved over a period of time. Now, apart from that, they have invested heavily on IT-driven technologies like your machine learning, your AI, and a lot of things or a lot of jargon we hear, but most of us are not aware of those, IT-driven technologies, and we need not to actually. But what is happening, being Microsoft, they are bringing in everything in most of the business users tools. So tool like Excel got something called Insight. I'm not sure whether you have used it, but it is more of a machine learning driven, and lot many other things coming in near future. But with Power BI, it is now their flagship product or flagship reporting tool as a cell BI tool. So they have added many other things, tools like Microsoft Flow, Power Apps, and then a lot of language detection, sentiment scoring, and many more things. I would not go into much detail, but certainly this will be like go to tool all the time, even for the IT who are investing heavily in some other technologies. So only thing I'm insisting here that this is tool developed by Microsoft, so you can completely rely on this new technology. Now, Power BI is built for users familiar with Excel, but it's not Excel. Now, I am one of the prime example for the community here in Dubai. Coming from a finance background, a normal Excel user, whenever I was using Excel 3, 4, 5 years back, I was never treated myself as an advanced Excel user. My Excel skills were limited to VLOOKUP and pivot table and pivot chart. But if I can learn this tool, Power BI, or the Power Pivot in Excel or Power Query in Excel, certainly any Excel user can do this very easily. So that's where I say that it is relatively easy for Excel user to get started, but it is not Excel. And I'm going to show you what I'm saying, that it is not Excel, but you will find it many familiarity with Excel. Now, what is so special about it? So first thing is Power BI will ingest data from virtually any source. So as I was describing in the beginning that most of our applications, most of our data, get stored on different applications, because in last 5 to 10 years, enterprises have invested in various technologies. So for HR, you might have invested in a different application. For your ERP system, you're running on different application. Your CRM might be on different applications. So we got data on different sources, but at the end of it, all are connected to larger extent. So your sales, a customer which sits in ERP where you have the AR account receivable. On other side, your CRM have the same customer sitting over there in CRM application. So there is a common factor, which is customer. Now you need to connect all these data into one tool to get your reporting requirement or analytics requirement, what you might require. So let me, at this stage, I start with Power BI demo. So Power BI is the desktop tool, which is a free tool to download. You all can download, go to the Microsoft website or just Google Power BI desktop download, and you will find a link which allow you to download it for free. So whatever I'm going to show you, as far as the development is concerned, as far as the learning is concerned, Power BI desktop, you can learn on that free tool. So this is the tool. When you open first time this tool, you have nothing on this tool. Out of box, there is nothing, but you need to bring in data into it. So when I said that you can connect to any data sources, so this is the button, get data, where you have all the data sources are listed there. Excel is our one of the favorite data tool, but apart from that, your ERP system, the database lies on SQL Server or some analysis services. You can have your text CSV files, your web connectivity. And if you click on this more button, you will find there are many more sources, data sources, which you can connect to, including your PDF files, so Access databases, your IBM, Oracle, SAPs, and many more. All Microsoft platform get connect with this Power BI. And apart from that, there are Google Analytics, your Salesforce, your Facebook. So you name it, more or less every organization, what they use, different applications, all can get connected to the Power BI. Now, what I'm going to show you is a Excel file, which I'm going to connect to this data source, to Power BI today for today's demo. Let me bring in that. This is the data file, and I'll describe you once we see this Excel data file in our Power BI window. So first time when I connect to the data source, it opens up a navigator window. So in my Excel file, I got 4 sheets in the same file. One is my date file, which is having a contiguous date column in it. Another one is a geography table, which is having a zip code, and then each zip code is described by its city or state or whichever country. So basically the data relate to a retail store chain in US, and this particular table describes the zip code of each of the stores where they are located. And then I got a product table where product ID for each of the product and the detail of individual product. And then I have the sales transaction data file, which is having a product ID in it, date in it. Date is showing as a number, and zip is basically your postal code. And then the transaction on each of the line item, you got a unit, which is quantity, and the total revenue. So revenue number is there. So this is the data which I can navigate and have a look here that what is inside. And then there are 3 buttons: load, transform data, and cancel. So I use transform data. Now this transform data button is more of a Power Query tool. It take you to within Power BI. So let me jump back to my slide at this stage, and let me describe about a little bit about Power Query. So Power BI got this data transformation tool, and I'll show you that any Excel user can learn with much more ease. And this tool is called Power Query. So if you use Excel and you don't use Power Query, I think you're missing something big on. And this tool is in Excel as well, but I'm just demoing it on Power BI. And this tool is, when we talk about data transformation, so all sort of data transformation, which is changing your data type, removing duplicates, or splitting columns, all that sort of thing which we do day in day out in our Excel work. When you dump the data is never clean, so you do a lot of transformation on that data. And what happens in Power Query, it all get recorded as an applied step. So you see I have just connected to that same data source, and it is showing me this Power Query editor and this steps being created here. Now let me do some transformation here. So the date column, as I have shown you earlier, that it was not showing as date, I need to change it a number. So I simply right click and I change it to date, and it gets converted into the data type, get changed to date. And in the date column, I have this additional column called month, which is nothing but the mid-month date. I can remove this column. In the geography table, I have this column called city, but it is a concatenated city as well as state and the country. So like in Excel, we do split data. Here I have a transformation button where I can extract from the text before delimiter. So you see, all I'm using is the button. And by using those button, I'm just wanting what I want to transform my data at the end of it, which I'm going to use for the report. So here I said, sorry, the city column where I want to extract text before delimiter, and the delimiter is a comma. So when I say it is a comma, so what I get is the New York column. So it basically extracted before the delimiter comma. That is what I wanted it to do. And you see that a step being created. So any point of time, next time when I'm bringing more data, the same step being applied to this, and it gets stored here, and my transformation is being done. So this was a simple transformation here. In the product table, everything looks okay, and in the sales table, again, everything is look okay. And what do you see here? The data type is being changed and the icon is being created. So date is shown as a calendar, 1, 2, 3 is showing as a number. Likewise, if there is any text data, it is showing as a ABC. So these are data type, and there are many more buttons. If you see onto the top on different window on different buttons, there are many more buttons which we usually use in our Excel data transformation. And from here, once your data is clean and ready, you simply close and apply it to your data model. So when you load into data model, it goes into the same window where we came from, and it created data model. You're seeing here the some of the steps being showing it here, and it also create the relationship between those data. So in normal Excel working, what we do usually, what you would do is you put all the data into one flat file. So basically the sales table will have all your data, including the product name, including your the geography and everything, and you will have a long table. We normally called it denormalized table, and from there you start creating your pivot table reports. But here I'm not going to do any that sort of a thing. I'll still keep all my data intact in those table. And what you have seen here is in a window which is called relationship window, a relationship is being created between these 2-3 table. So what you are seeing is I have my sales table here, and a relationship is being created between a product table. How the relationship is being created? The product table is kind of a master table where there was a column called product ID, which is connected to my product ID in my sales table. The same way there is a GIF, which is a unique table in my geography table, and it got connected or got a relationship with my sales table. In the date table, there is a date column, but by default, Power BI doesn't create a relationship. So I manually go and create this relationship. Now, what this relationship is all about is VLOOKUP, what you use in Excel to do all those sort of data gathering into one single file. Here, I am not doing any VLOOKUP. I'm just creating a relationship within Power BI. And this is called data model. So very simple data model. I just kept simple for this demo purpose. But you might have, multi-dimension and multi tables where apart from sales, you might have the purchase tables as well. Or you might have many more inventory tables or other tables as well. So after creating this relationship, now my data model is ready to go for the reporting. But before I jump to the reporting, let me go to the next screen to describe further about other features in Power BI. So Power BI got this modeling engine. So what I was showing you is a data model, and the technology behind it works called the Vertipack data modeling engine. And there are different techniques which a power user or a heavy Excel user can learn. And apart from this, there is a language called DAX, Data Analysis Expression Language. But it is similar to Excel, but it goes very complex because it works on that data model technique. So I'll show you a little bit of taste of those DAX formulas just to get you acquainted that how you can use that. Now, apart from the data modeling and the data transformation, the other thing which is quite useful when you use Power BI, which is vast amount of data. So in Excel, you might have a, let's say many of us uses, when we put our multi-years or multi-location data into Excel file, sometimes the size just, goes something like 200 megabyte, 300 megabyte. And we all face problem having those data size. When you put a VLOOKUP formula on those data size files, you know what happens. But what happens is in Power BI, even if you have a data size of 300 megabyte or more than that, Power BI basically compressed it and make it performant. So let me show you this particular data set, which I have just now put into Power BI. The data size was 3.8 MB. But at the end of it, when I save this file and create after I create all my reports, and the data size become just 769 KB. So almost 5x, 6x kind of a compression it does. So in that sense, a lot of use you can make in terms of your heavy files, keeping into Power BI and making use of it. Now, let's jump to create some sort of a report onto that. What I have just shown you is a relationship here into the data model. So let me now go to the report page. Once the relationship is being done, then it is a simple task, just like how we drag and drop into our pivot table and pivot chart report. So when I put a revenue number over here, you will see that automatically by default a column chart being generated. And when I put on the year into the axis over here, so now I see 2016 and 2015. In my this model, the data was having 2016 for 6 months and 15 was for full year. So this comparison is not justified until unless I have a slicer which gives me the month into it. So I have a full solution file from where I'm just, for the time's sake of time, I'm just copy pasting the slicer over here. I'm just bringing that slicer here. And what do you see? I've selected for 6 months. Now the months are not in order. It is in alphabetical order. So let me go and fix certain things. So in the date table where I have the month name, I can go and sort it by month number. So the moment I do that setting, you will see here it is all being sorted out. So now what do you see here? That 6 months data being compared for year 2015 and 16. And you see there is a fall into the revenue number. What it is showing, 2015 at 25 million revenue, whereas in 2016, what I have is 22 million revenue. But this is not what we want to see. Yeah, when you present these kind of reports, the normal question would be where from this fall is coming. So we need to have a good insight. We need to get some good insight on this data, that where this fall is coming from. Now, Power BI got, as I was explaining in the beginning, being Microsoft, they have added lot many features into this as a artificial intelligence, as a machine learning tool. So there is a feature called Quick Insight, which generate an automatic analysis. Now, I'll just show you that how it works and what sort of insight you get. But it all works based on the data modeling and the data, the way you have kept the data into the data modeling. So we have already seen that while I was bringing the data into Power BI, I've shown you that there are 4 different tables. So we got product table, we got geography table, and we got date table. So these are kind of 3 dimensions for the revenue number. So your revenue number might have decreased because of certain product or a product category. It might have decreased because of the geography, maybe in a particular state, particular city, or particular region. Likewise, in a particular month due to seasonal trend, right? But it is not giving me anything until unless I put everything into my report as a slicer and as a report filter and all that sort of thing. But the insight feature which is there inbuilt into Power BI, let me use that. So it works on timeline only, right? So when I put something onto timeline 2015 and 16, this is my timeline. Can you see that? Or let me increase the size of the font over here onto the y-axis. I can increase the text size. So now you see 2015, 16. And let me put the data label. So this is the formatting tab where I can play with it, and I can say that display the data. Now you see the data here. Change the color and the size. So you're saying here 25.1 million to 22.2 million, right? Now, when you put this onto the timeline and you click on the current timeline, right click, and there is a button called Analyze. And within that Analyze, I get another button called Explain the Decrease. So now in this case, it is identifying that the revenue is decreased from 25 to 22 million. So it is asking, you can use this button, Explain the Decrease. When I click on to this button, it gives me a complete analysis of that 11.58% decrease in revenue between 15 and 16. Now, it is not from one dimension. So the first chart, which appears as a waterfall chart, showing me that product ID 465 has got the biggest revenue fall. In fact, it is showing minus 100%, so the product might have discontinued. But apart from product, when I scroll it down onto the same window, it gives me the product name, it gives me the segment, which particular segment has a biggest fall. Then it goes further down into the manufacturer ID, which manufacturer products are not selling, right? So this particular manufacturer one are still is not selling. Then which particular segment or category. So here it says that urban category is having the biggest fall. Likewise, so whatever the reason, then I can go to the state. So California state have a fall of 1.9 million, whereas New York region got 0.3 million increase during that period. Then you can go to district wise. So whatever my data field was there into my data model on those tables, all it is analyzing through that and using that data model and the relationship in it. So what I can do is make use of whatever I want to highlight in my report. Let's say I want to highlight it by category wise. So I pick this chart. I can change the chart type as well. So here you got different charts here, which is, can give you much more insight. So I'm using this, adding this to my report page and making use of that particular chart. Maybe I'll do the titling and color coding and some different things onto that. But the idea is to use that feature, and in a click of a button, I'm just getting an insight which is will require some more effort while making those charts and putting different things onto the visuals and all that. So this is one very cool feature which I just put it on my slide. Let me jump to the next slides. Jishan, do you see any question at this point of time which I need to address? Hello?
Yeah, Naveen. Just I think if anyone has question, they can unmute and ask. One question I have, like this data sources you are telling, like we can connect with any of the data source, like Oracle, SAP, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Okay,
I'm
so
going to show you some of the demo at the end of
mhm.
this particular exercise. And there I'll show you that the solution which I provided to different enterprises having SQL databases, Oracle
Mhm.
databases, SAPs and Salesforce, any application for that matter. Yeah.
And even budgeting, like for example, we do like budget analysis, like comparing actuals with budget. This thing is also possible here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So most of the organization keep their budget still on Excel sheets
Mhm.
because of the limitation on ERP or whatever reason,
Yeah.
right? So in this case, your data source would be your actual data would be coming from SQL databases or Oracle databases, and then you can fetch that another Excel sheet which
Mhm.
is having the budget data, and then you can make comparison over here.
Okay, I think there is one question from Umran.
Yeah.
Do we need to clean the data in Excel before import it to Power BI, or we can do that directly from Power BI?
Not at all. You will not do anything in Excel. So
Mhm.
again, answer would be that if you have some sort of a permanent nature of cleaning which you need to do every time, then
Mhm.
the better way to do is it in Power Query in Power BI. But
Mhm.
if something which is like data related issue, then certainly you rectify it in your Excel or the data source. So depending on what sort of, but as I have described there in Excel Power Query, you have those steps being created. So you
Mhm.
need not to worry, like let me give you a very simple example. So many a times in your system, you might not have a spelling correct. Let's say New York is not being written, spelling is not correct. And every time when you dump it on Excel, you do it manually, you change it. But here what happens, you are just going to replace the New York spelling with the right spelling here. So you will say that find and replace it with the right value. And that step will get stored here. So that become a permanent feature. Next time when you are bringing in new data, you're not doing it again. So to answer your question, you will do those changes only in Power Query. You will not do it in Excel. So no manual intervention as far as your data is concerned.
Okay. And another
Yeah.
question from Usman is how is it different from Tableau?
I never use Tableau, and
Okay.
I can't comment on that. But certainly, uh, Power Query, Power BI is having a lot of similar feature to
Mhm.
Excel, so that's where it becomes handy for people like us. So there's no
Okay.
comparison as far as I can make because of my unawareness about Tableau.
Okay.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Yeah, Hardik, go on, carry on.
Uh, just wanted to know if we update any data on monthly basis, will it be exported directly or do we need to export or overwrite this file each and every month?
No, there is a refresh button here. So now what happens when I connect it to that file, the data source remain here. So you see in the formula bar that this is the data source, and
Yeah.
whatever changes I'll store in my data source, this particular Excel file, or for that matter, any data source, I need not to touch that. I will come here and I say refresh. It will go and connect to your data source, or it is connected to the data source. It will refresh it on demand, right? So I'll come to the schedule refresh and other part, which is more of a license or cloud version. But in this free version, you simply hit this refresh button and your new data just appear as a in the Power BI.
Understood.
Yeah. So let me jump to the next slide, and we can have more question
Yeah.
answer later on. Now, another cool feature which is called natural language query engine. Now, it sounds like a gimmick, but believe me, it's super cool and it works, and I'm going to show you. So what does that mean? Means I can ask a natural language query question. So I can say, okay, show me the top 5 product in my 2016 by revenue, right? And I get a chart or a table or a matrix, whatever I require. Yeah, so that sort of just like our Siri and our Alexa, and unfortunately still we don't have the voice command over here, but I can write that query and I can get my answer to that particular query. So let me show you that feature. I just make some space over here. Let me reduce the size of these. And there is a ask a question button over here, which is available by double clicking on blank space. So when I double click on blank space, this window pop up which says ask a question about your data. So let me write something here, top 5 product by revenue for year. 2016, right? And you see that I just wrote that query. Now, what it is reading, product is a name into my product table, revenue is a field name in my sales table, year 2016 is in my date column. So it is just reading, you know your data well. How did you define your field name into the data model, how the relationship is being done? And simply I wrote top 5 product by revenue for year 2016, and I'm getting those top 5 products. Just to verify that, we can have a matrix over here. So I just create another matrix manually where I say year into my column chart, revenue into my value, and the product would be in my, so product coming from my product table, and these are the product ID. So let's verify whether it has given. So 2016, let me sort it out from year 2016. Okay, let me filter only for year 2016 is so now we have 2016 if I sorted by the amount. Now you start seeing the product ID. In fact, it is giving me product name here. Let me put the product name just to verify that what we have done and we are getting it over here. So instead of product ID, I'll put product name. So what do you see? The first product name is Maximus UM43, and here you have Maximum UM43. So likewise, I can have more questions here. So I can say revenue state-wise for 2016. So I have 3 state data here, and it is giving me, and then I can say as map visual. So the moment I write map visual, and I have the visual type as well. So here you see that California state number, and so there are many more. Means you without me writing any formula or doing anything, what I have done so far is the data modeling, the relationship between my data, and how did I field name and everything is kept so clean and tidy. So when I'm writing those natural query language, it is just reading that and giving me these kind of. So these are few things which I wanted to highlight, and I just want to show you a full report on this particular data set, which I've already done earlier. And if any of you want, I'll coordinate with Jishan to share this data file as a template, so with the data as well, so you can make use of it. So you see different kind of visualization. Now let me come back to again to the slide, and the next slide talk about the visualization. Okay, Power BI is in the cloud. So let me move. So you have created this report, right? Now we have this report ready. Now you want to share it with other users. So on the desktop tool, it is just your file. You are keeping it with you, and still you need to share it with other users. So one way is to share this file with other users. They need to download Power BI as well. So when they open it, they have the Power BI in there. But what happens is the data source is lying on your machine. When they try to hit refresh button, they are not able to refresh with the new data. Now, so how do you share it with? And that's where the licensing thing come into the picture. I'll describe that later. But I have my account. I'm logged in into that, and I see this publish button where I go and publish, and it goes into my license version. And from there, I can share it with other users who got the license as well. So I'll describe that a little bit later. Let me jump to the next. Cheap to buy, I'll describe this, but before that, let me describe about the visualization. So what do you see here in Excel? Like we have many visualization nowadays available, but here it is much more colorful, and everything is based on our requirement. And apart from that, there are in marketplace in Microsoft Store, there are about 200 kind of visuals available there. So you simply import, and most of them are available free, right? So you see a lot of visualization report and all that prepared on different tools. Like Tableau's visualization is one one of the more powerful, but Power BI just keep adding these visualization into their list, and you can make good use of it. So, and most of them, as I said, are freely available. So I use few of the visualization which is available into the Power BI desktop itself. And these reports are now completely interactive. So let's say I want to know about this particular manufacturer. So when I'm interacting with this, all my other reports are getting cross highlighted with that, and I can see all those reports. So this particular report I can share with you guys if you are interested in knowing more about it, how it is being done. Now let me describe about the license. So Power BI desktop is free, as I mentioned, but then the license come with a cost, and license is to be used for your automatic refresh. So someone asked about the refresh question on your cloud version, on your license version, you can set it up automatic refresh. So it requires some gateway setting and all that, and it will automatically refresh talking to your server and getting the refresh data onto your reports. Visualization I have already described, then reports and dashboard. So what I was preparing so far was a report, but dashboard is a different feature. Again, it is into the desktop, sorry, license version onto the cloud. So dashboard is basically a combination of different reports. So you can pin some visuals from one report, you can pin some visual from other report, and on dashboard you can see a kind of a overview 360-degree. And then as and when you need to go into detail, you just click onto that particular visual and it take you to the report part. And Power BI got a mobile app as well, so the same report can be seen into the mobile. And there is another feature called Analyze in Excel. So let me quickly jump publishing this particular report to my cloud account. So I'm just going and publishing it to, let's say, one of my workspace. So now it is going to the cloud. Take few seconds. And I open this in my cloud version here. And exactly what we prepared, now it is in the cloud, and there are many more features which is for collaboration and sharing with your team. Now one thing which is the sharing, so this is the share button, and when I click onto the share, in my organization, the other users who got the license, I'll simply share it one time with them. I can have all sort of restriction. Row level security is another feature there, whereby you don't want to see a salesperson to see finance data, or likewise HR data not to be seen by other people. So those sort of row level security. So once you share it with them, it goes to their inbox, and then they log into their cloud account and they start using the same view. All other features, which is like interactivity between different visuals, all are there. And the Analyze in Excel is one feature which is quite useful. Again, the same report I can export with the data model. So it just goes into the Excel, where it doesn't load any data, but the data model which I have created, it will open it in Excel, and there I can create the reports on my pivot table reports and all that. So the same data set, it will just come up here as a pivot table. And I will start creating the reports over here, the similar report what we created. So let's say revenue number here. Oops. So the data type I need to take care of. So basically the same feature what we used is sales here. This is sales last year YTD, and I'm putting over here. So I can just make use of my Excel report as well. The point I'm making here is it is not just the Power BI, but you can compatibility with the Excel make our life easier in terms of making use of this tool. So let me jump to the slide. And Power BI update every month. So every month they give updates. So what happens, user like us who are using it regularly, when we find that some features are not very user friendly, we give feedback to Microsoft, and we find that in next couple of months, 3 months, We see those updates which bring in those changes and which make our life easier. Easy to use. Now you would have already realized that whatever I have shown you now in last 30-40 minutes, it was relatively easy, but then it get complex. And when you are talking about the analytics, deep dive analytics into your enterprise level solution, that's where the text language and other advanced features come, which require a lot of learning and training. But then uh, somewhere you need to start with to do something. It is having a massive user community. So just like Excel user community or any other Microsoft user group community. So I had Power BI user community here in Dubai. You can join that community for free going to this link, pbiusergroup.com/Dubai. We do a lot of event where knowledge sharing session like this, what I'm doing currently, and a lot of Microsoft expert and some other industry player who are doing different things on Power BI, they come and share their knowledge. So you are most welcome to join this group. And this is my last slide where all my contact details. So basically what I do is I do a lot of training for finance community. Then I do project for organizations or enterprises, their business reporting requirements. So I'll show you some demo now for the work which I have done. And I had this Power BI user group, so you can connect with me through user group as well. And I'm quite active on the LinkedIn. So if someone is interested, connecting me on LinkedIn, where I keep posting new features or new some of my work, which I, some videos and other stuff as just as a knowledge sharing, I share on them. Let me jump to a few of the demos. Jishan, do you see any question before I start more demo?
Yeah, I think one question somebody dropped in the question box. Can we use the same feature in division, multiply, and more complex formula?
Yes, all those calculation which we do in Excel is all available there. Because of the time constraint, I'm not able to show you those features, but certainly you can Google it, you can find it yourself, or you can send me your queries if you are on a learning path of your Power BI journey. I would be able to help you.
Oh. And one question I have, Naveen, like as you mentioned, like we can connect it with any data source, even including social media also, like there are lots of data, even that is unstructured
Absolutely,
data. So how that it
absolutely.
will
So
be organized, like for example, from the Facebook or from other social media, there is all unstructured data. So how we
well,
can.
it will, yes, it will come in the shape how the data is being provided by that particular database. So
Mhm,
let's say you got Facebook. So Facebook data come most of the databases, even into the social media, come in a tabular shape. So
mhm,
nothing to worry about the data shape, but then a cleaning would require, and that's where your Power Query tool, which is
mhm,
quite handy. Now you can do a lot of transformation here. You see on the top there are
mhm,
many buttons. On the right
okay.
click, you see there are many buttons. So
Mhm,
means almost 99% of your Excel task, what you do as far as the data cleansing is concerned, is all available through the button here, right? But with the learning of language behind it, you can go much more advanced level. So many a
mhm,
times when I'm doing the enterprise level project solutions to them, there are a lot of complexity in their data. So then you need to learn
mhm.
a little bit advanced onto that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So look at these demo now. This is a sales dashboard. Again, the data coming from accounting package called SAYS. SAYS keep its databases on SQL databases. Now, what do you see here? It's different dimension. What I have just now described you in my demo on those three dimensions. So here also you see the customer is one dimension, sales rep is one dimension. Then the customer might be from different categories. The customer is categorized in different categories and customer from different geographies. And these are the few KPIs which we normally present in our report. So YTD versus previous year YTD, MTD versus previous year MTD, rolling 30 days and different kind of, and then you want to see a trend line chart and different visuals onto that. But what is so special about it is completely interactive. So let's say I'm interested in looking at one of the customer, let's say my top second customer. I go to that customer, select that customer, and then I see that what this customer would have done in this particular time frame, whatever the report I'm showing. So it is showing me that it is compared to last year up by 37%, compared to last month it is done up by this much percentage. Even I can see last 3 years trend. So you see that current year is doing well compared to last 2 years. Likewise, I can go to any salesperson if I'm meeting salesperson and sales team to discuss about their performance. So I can select any particular salesperson and I can see their numbers. And these all are live data, right? As I said, using the license version, this is connected to your data sources. And whenever you are presenting, it is giving you the refresh data. So you're not saying to your stakeholder that I'll get back to you. So this is all live data. The second on the same I'm showing you is more of a gross margin analysis. Now here again in a single page, you're covering so many things for which if you have to do a PowerPoint presentation, it would require maybe 5 slides to give all those sort of a detail. So what are you seeing here is the products all are listed here, individual products. So company deal with 1,381 product. 390 customer buy those product. Total revenue for this particular period is this, and the margin, overall margin is showing 36.61%. Then my product are categorized into different categories, and each category have a trend line over how the gross margins are trending over a period. And when I click on a particular category, so let's say this cups, whatever the category it is, which is my biggest revenue or biggest margin contributor in terms of the gross margin, and it says 48.52%, and total revenue is this, and these now product are sliced by this particular category. So all the product which belong to this category are listed here. I can now select an individual product to get to know that what this individual product would have done in terms of the gross margin, how it is trending, how much revenue, how many customer buying these product on month line, on monthly chart, how much revenue it is making. So basically on single page, you are getting so much of information, which gives you, kind of a good insight that what is happening around your business. So this is one example. The second example, which I want to show you on financial reports. So we do a lot of financial reporting on monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, and all what we do is a static report. And the problem in our current reporting system are on PowerPoint presentation. When we do first page, you will describe as a consolidated report, then you will go, you are dealing in different regions or your different group companies, then you will have that many slides for the similar kind of a presentation, and you will describe each of them. Now in this chart, what is happening is you got 5 different group companies. Now this data is the meet data for an coming from an organization, Oracle database it is connected to, and they got 5 group companies within the group. When I'm not selecting anything, what you are seeing is the consolidated data. So my group revenue is 249.6 million, and all the other KPIs which you are seeing onto those card visuals, with the color coding clearly describing that where it is heading down or whether it is heading up. And apart from that, my component of income statement, which is revenue, direct cost, and all these EBITDA, net profit, the variance and monthly trend line are showing at the bottom. So when I select revenue, all these numbers are related to revenue. When I select direct cost, all these numbers, what you're seeing now is direct cost. So direct cost variance is 5.9%. Now green means the direct cost has decreased, and revenue variance is 4.9%, which is green again, revenue increase. So likewise, and so gross profit has decreased, and obviously we can see that the margin has decreased, gross profit margin, so it is going down. And on timeline, I can select any month, and I can go to, so whatever time I'm presenting this report to, I can select that timeline and I can get to see. And at the same time, onto the company slicer, I can select individual company. Now I'm looking at the individual company data. So instead of having those 10 slides, I'm presenting all those required KPIs or the number which normally a CEO or CFO would like to see on his presentation. It is all on. In fact, these reports become live on Power BI and the user will have access to these reports so they see it their own as and when it gets finalized. The next is a receivable dashboard. Again, a very powerful report. On a single page, you are going to see almost everything what a receivable report would require. So my overall receivable at the end of month March, 145.5 million, and receivable days was 76 million. And the aging is showing into this chart, and how the movement is month-wise month. So if I select the month April, then it just moved to April, May, June likewise. And what are you seeing here? I started my month January with 215.5 million, 198 days was the receivable. But whereas today in the month of June, or rather in the month of May, I'm standing at 97 days. And how the movement is happening. So in the month month January, I have collected more than the invoicing. That's how my revenue receivable has come down. So you see a complete transparent way of doing the reporting. You can further drill it down to give the detail at the invoice level as well. On to this particular search box, I have customer listed, so I need not to open their GL account or AR account. I can simply search for a customer here and I can see the whole movement. So it just gives you a complete picture of individual customer onto the same dashboard. I can go to individual company to see what individual company would have done in terms of the receivable. So a lot of slice and dice with the same data source and onto the reporting requirement what normally we present in our reports. And the third page is on payable. We as a finance leader, most of the time we care about our receivable, but we don't care about our payable. But at the same time, payable is also important. So the similar report for the payable as well. Some more reports. Let me show you one of these, scorecard. So scorecard is nothing but your overall rating of different businesses at different companies. So what you are seeing here, this particular group rate their individual companies based on the target is being given on different KPIs. So 4 financial KPIs, 4 operational KPIs, how each of the KPIs have done compared to their targets, and based on that the rating is being given. Each KPI is being given weightage, and overall scoring is being done through the weightage. So again, it is quite interactive. In Q1, the company's rating was 3.5. Q2, it goes up to the 3.6. And I can go and look into the detail page if I want to see that trend line over all these KPIs. So I go to the link into the same report, and in this report I see how it is trending month over month. I can go to the operational KPI page in the similar fashion, and I can see the trend over here. Now the data source is again the same databases. In this case it is SAP, and it is picking those data and creating those reports using all those features which I have shown you. The Power Query, the text language, a lot of formula being written behind the scene, and the visualization make your presentation much more powerful. And the last thing which I want to show you is a lot of ad hoc reports we do many a times in business. Day in, day out, our requirement from the business comes, and we do a lot of analysis. Scenario analysis is one which we all love to do whenever something, new strategy or new plan, when you're making it, a lot of scenario analysis you would do on that. So just for the demo purpose, kept it simple, that how you can make use of Power BI and then do those scenario analysis and present it in much more powerful visualization way. So here I have a no scenario sale in my data, which is having 24.66 million revenue number in it. But then I'm playing with few scenario with it, and I'm saying a price increase or price decrease, and then volume change subsequently. So let's assume this data comes from a retail store which located in different territories, sales different product, and this coming from last year. Let's assume this is a DSF data, and the planning to do the similar kind of promotion next year for DSF, right? So we all work on historical data, that what has happened last year and what should we do to do it better for the next year of our coming period. So when you sit in a meeting like this, normally salespeople, your product team, your finance team, and all will be there and to discuss that what the strategy would be. So the sales team would say that last year we gave 5% discount, let's do 10% discount this time. Now you play with the slider and you make the changes, and it is a simple calculation. So your sale will go down by 10%. But as a finance person, finance leader, you would ask that how it would improve in your volume. So the marketing team or the sales team would say it would result, we expect it to increase by 15% volume. Now again, this you can do this calculation on your calculator, simple calculation, 3.5%. But then things get little complicated. And when you start analyzing it more, you will say that, okay, this promotion run only in Dubai territories. So I have to slice and dice my data for Dubai category, Dubai territory only, to get to see that what the net impact would be. So what you're seeing is, if it is only Dubai, then the overall impact would be 1.33%. And then if it goes further, one more dimension where your product team says that we don't have many products, we can do this promotion only on first 5 products. So what would be the impact? The overall impact would be 1.11%. Then you start playing with the slider. Let's do 12%. Let's extrapolate it to 18% or something, and you're getting these results. So now imagine in our day-to-day life, we have many different scenarios where interest rate keep changing, where your exchange rate keep changing, your economic scenario is changing, you are projecting a 80% kind of a budget achievement, and all those sort of things. What we do, if you have a dashboard like this, which is being created, keeping all those scenario in mind and presenting it in such a way, it make everyone's life easier as far as the decision making is concerned. It make your life easier. I think I'm done with as far as the presentation is concerned, or as far as the things which I wanted to show you. So Jishan, any more question we can take for next 5-10 minutes if the time permits?
Yes, Naveen. If anyone has any question, they can unmute themselves and they can ask if you have any question from the attendees. So I think, as I understand from your, I think it's a very, first of all, very insightful and practical presentation you give. And what I understand is like we can, it's a great tool to integrate like our financial data and the operational data, right? Because nowadays we are talking so much about like finance business partnering or the strategic role of finance. So I think this tool, we can leverage this tool to integrate our financial data with the operational data as well, right? As you mentioned.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So basically, the whole message I want to give it is finance community who are heavy Excel user, and anything or everything what we do in Excel, but again, a lot of issues we face, and those are not the way to do reporting in today's world, where everything is required, on demand. You cannot do those things. So tool like Power BI helps you in doing that. And coming from Excel background, it is easy to learn this tool and make good. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So the whole objective of this is making aware most of Excel user who are unaware of these tool which is available there. And effectively, if you look at the cost factor of all these, certainly the Power BI desktop come as a free tool. As I said in the beginning, that anyone can download it after the end of the session. Just Google it and download it for free. And whatever demo I've shown you, try doing something at your own and see how it works. and a lot of material available online that helps you as well. And as far as license is concerned, it is just $10 per user in your organization, per user per license per month actually. Compared to Tableau, which costs, I believe, $70 per user per month. And then the development cost. So as I said, out of box, there is nothing, but you need to develop these reports for your reporting and analytics need. Now, different way of doing it. You learn yourself and do it, or you hire a consultant. But again, these are very kind of short-term kind of a projects. It goes very fast. These are not ERP implementation kind of a project. So start with something small, see the utility of the tool, see how it is useful, how it make your your life easier, as well as your stakeholder or the decision maker who require all these sort of report. And you must have seen in the report that it is quite easy to use. It just gives you a feel like you are using an app and making use of those report, rather than those crystal or tabular report which we usually do in Excel or in our ERP systems.
Right. So, and can you share any, like, in which industries or which you usually implement it? I think you are already practicing, right? You have your consultancy. So, which industries are mostly interested in this, or is it in different industries you are implementing? Like how?
Right. So yeah. So normally, being chartered accountant, people think that I just do the financial reporting, but let me surprise you all. The project which I did, yes, financial reporting is one, but on operational side, companies like MR Properties, one of their most critical report, which is on their receivable and in real estate industry, or the developers have a lot of RERA and land department regulations. So it was completely on operational side.
Okay.
And then a few other reports on their call center data, and one project I'm doing for one Abu Dhabi organization, which is facility management, quite large, on their help desk data. So data is data. Any data you get hands-on and you bring into your tool like these, and at the end of it, it is business logic, which normally the business explains you that how it works, and you understand those logics and do the data modeling. And so I've done project for the real estate, the facility management companies, the trading companies, the manufacturing companies. So these are few. But for me, irrespective of industry, just like in our job profile, not necessarily we are industry specific. You go as a CFO in any industry, and you immediately understand that what is business all about. So it is more of understanding the business rather than anything else.
Yeah, correct. That's great. So I think so. There are no more questions. So thank you very much, Naveen, for it's a very excellent presentation, very insightful, very practical. And I think we will share the recording also in our group. So any member, if they would like to contact with you in the group or either individually, they can do it. And any questions, I think Naveen is with us in the group. So it's our great pleasure to be with
Yeah,
you.
you can make good use of our group if you keep posting your Power BI related or Excel related question on that. Whenever I get time, I'll be able to answer you.
Sure.
And thank you very much, Jishan, again. And keep this group alive by doing these kind of events.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've seen you are doing 2 more events, so it's
Yeah.
I really appreciate that something
Yeah.
is being done at
Thank
this
you.
level. So thank you very
Thank
much
you very much to you
to
also,
other
Naveen,
participants as well for
for
taking
you.
time.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you.